like and subscribe. I feel like male body dysmorphia is not taken as seriously as anorexia or bulimia, despite a steroid epidemic. How do men feel about this? A lot of guys hate their bodies. Hell, just troll through the threads around here and look at all the ones convinced their life is a mess because they're short, bald, ugly, can't grow a beard, can't get a six-pack, or whatever. Hell, plenty just want to be skinny like so many women. I'm not sure what, if anything, there is to be done about it, but it's definitely there. Unsuccessful men are invisible. From the words of the great Chris Rock, only women, children and dogs are loved. Do not eat or naloyo vertical bar. A man is only loved under the condition he provides something. Companies like Dove are all about using plus-sized female models to encourage women to feel good about themselves, which I completely support. But when was the last time you saw an underwear ad for men with a male model that wasn't muscular with chiseled abs? It's completely hypocritical. Even look at big and tall advertising. It is all tall, built-looking guys. They all look like they would be on a football team. Body dysmorphia is definitely a thing for guys with real consequences, especially the teenage years. Boys and girls both start noticing their body changing around teenage years and start comparing themselves to the hot kids at their school. I have a 17-year-old brother who's been a serious athlete since he was little. He measures his food by the gram every meal and is obsessed with nutrition and performance. We are talking a sub 5-minute mile and 20-something miles endurance runs every day. The little has abs for days, but is never satisfied. All he would talk about is how the top kid on his cross-country team looks like this and runs this fast, whoop-de-woo, yada yada. He's going to the Olympics, etc. None of that bothers me as much as when he skips meals as a punishment for going out to dinner for our dad's birthday, or refusing to eat even his normal low-calorie stuff as a punishment to make up for something. It's like he didn't even think he was skinny at 119 pounds 5 feet 8 inches. I was frustrated with him, but I could tell something was off. He didn't realize how he looked and was chasing an impossible goal. He finally broke down one day and admitted his hunger and pain from overworking his body. It was the worst feeling I've had talking with him about it, but I'm glad he opened up. He's doing much better and even gained some weight after deciding to personalize his fitness goals, and is even running a little faster now while maintaining his weight. He's a talented kid and I love him very much and will always be proud of the little. I think it's a mistake to compare the experiences of body dysmorphia between the sexes while trying to figure out if one's worse than the other. It's probably mostly similar for everyone. It's good to have fitness goals and work hard for them, but not at the cost of your physical health and sanity. I don't think you have to treat people special because they're experiencing these issues, but it's a good idea to be supportive of recovery positively if you can. Me personality couldn't give less of a about my body tbh. I agree, but also it's important to remember men can also suffer from eating disorders like anorexia and bulimia. Men are often overlooked and dismissed when it comes to mental illness in general. Body image issues are no different in that regard. Increasing awareness and destigmatizing mental illness and body image issues among men is important. There is also a major need for male-focused resources, support groups, and services. There are groups out there doing great work towards guiding men into healthier lifestyles, but they are constantly in need of volunteers and support. Feels like the question was made for me, honestly. The biggest issue I see is social media making crazy physiques more viewable. Like freaky people who do copious amounts of steroids exist, but before you only ever really saw them if you were really into bodybuilding. Nowadays there are plenty of guys in their late teens and early 20s that are also on gear and have physiques that look attainable to a novice lifter because their dosages are low and they are not pounding back 5,000 plus calories per day to even come close to getting to the size of some of the monsters in Menela's Open. Steroid use has been a problem for decades now, but social media has exacerbated things by making it much easier to broadcast your physique and make money doing it. I don't think it would be as big of a deal If there was at least transparency with drug use, but that is not always realistic given the possibility of brands pulling sponsorships over admissions to steroid use in an attempt to keep the brand image squeaky clean. Another issue is the legality. Steroid possession is so heavily prosecuted in places like South Korea that a lot of IFBB pros from there will fervently deny steroid use to keep police from breathing down their necks all the time. The reason this particular question strikes a strong chord with me is I was in a similar boat. I fluctuated between the high end of overweight and the low end of obese all throughout high school, and was routinely bullied for both my weight and my height. Eventually I got into bodybuilding, after having already done strength training for 2 years during the football off-season. You start looking up to all these guys you see online and wonder why your progress is not matching up to theirs, and eventually find yourself in the wonderful world of the dozens of different peds that are widely available, if you know where to look. I started using steroids when I was 20. Granted, by that point I was interested in trying my hand at an amateur show, and wanted to get a good few cycles in before I aged out of juniors. At that time I was not interested in looking like a fitness model, and was deep into bodybuilding as a competition instead. Still a wide degree of body dysmorphia that results from it, but that is sorta just what happens when you partake in a sport where the only thing that matters is how you look. Even some of the greats like Arnold would cry after having just won a show because they did not think their physique was good enough. As tired a thing as it is to say, steroids are just par for the course in certain instances. Natural bodybuilding shows are a joke and the top guys are all just running stuff with a short half-life to avoid eyeing hot. Any competitive sport where money is involved is also rife with drug use. Guys in college looking to get drafted or guys playing professionally are all using. Hell, even female athletes take steroids. Steroid use is an inevitable consequence of wanting to try your hand at even just attempting to compete at the top level. Do I think your average Joe who does not know a lick about steroids should be pinning their cheeks with mystery drugs to try and solve their body image issues? No. Do I wish the FDA would hurry the hell up and give SOMs the same drug classification as anabolic steroids so that they were not as disgustingly accessible to young teenagers? Of course. But I also don't think that steroid use with the express purpose of competing in some sort of sport is necessarily a bad thing. It is just that a lot of people who start using are woefully uninformed and do so in an attempt to look better because they are under the impression that trend will magically melt stomach fat and give them 20 chance. If you have any real experience with working out, you realize that 99% of the great physiques you see are both genetically gifted and enhanced with drugs. That isn't to say they didn't work hard for it, and it should not deter you from trying to pursue a healthy lifestyle. A female friend of mine strongly believes that body dysmorphia and insecurities are solely a misogynistic and patriarchal issue that only affects women. Man, it is so frustrating to talk to her about that. As a guy who has had severe body dysmorphia since before high school, I try to tell her that it affects men equally as well. But she still believes that society's ideals for a perfect body are unfairly imposed on the females, only in that males don't have to deal with such insecurities and expectations. Don't be friends with people like this. I think all three are really serious issues that men face in today's world. As much as women talk about unrealistic beauty standards, men face similar pressures too. It is really important to remember that the people you see on underwear packages have top tier workout and nutrition advice, and they only look that ripped for a shoot, and they still get their photos edited to be perfect. It is unfortunate to see men and women base their self-worth around what their body looks like. It is important to eat healthy and work out, sure, but it should not define you as a person. If you are struggling with any of these issues, then I would highly recommend talking to a professional therapist/psychiatrist. I think it's definitely the reason why I got into working out and eating healthy. It's never enough for me. I hit my ideal weight pre-COVID, but wasn't as lean as I wanted to be at that weight. During COVID, I ate less due to not working out as hard I was, and ended up dropping 20 pounds down to my undergraduate weight. I'm now having trouble eating enough, because I don't want to look skinny fat again. It's the mind. And can ruin my days. I find just like women we hold ourselves to higher standards to those around us. We think while we look like a bad version of what we could be, others just see us as is. Not fat skinny, or in shape, it's just oh that's. We're all built different. I've seen happy people in all different forms of themselves. If you don't love yourself you have to put in some work, and learn to love yourself. Hopefully wanna see yourself be the healthiest you can be. I was born with a lazy eye and droopy eyelids. Had surgery on the eye when I was little. I have always wanted to get rid of my gosh. Droopy eyelids. I'm 32 now. I always look tired and it weighs me down mentally. Male body dysmorphia is real. The same way we feel when our other feelings are largely disregarded. My whole family sat me down when I was 12 to tell me that I was getting fat. This was months after I told them that I was being bullied and didn't know how to handle it. My dad is also a PhD psychologist. I could not agree more with this post. I struggled with body dysmorphia for years and still do to this day. Spent years at gyms trying to achieve something that was realistically unachievable in the way I was attacking it. But yes, I feel that body dysmorphia in men is almost a neglected topic. I don't know, to be honest. I think women care more about women's issues, and men care more about men's issues, in general. At least they understand their own issues better than the others. I believe men's issues are taken seriously, but those who take them seriously aren't loud about it in social media, so we don't hear as much about it. To talk about women's issues as a politician, depending on country, gives a lot of bonus points, so of course they milk that. But talking about men's issues can sometimes be faces with, but women has it worse. Surely we can't consider both sides. So the politicians skip that topic. Maybe that's also why men's issues aren't taken as seriously by as many, because we don't talk that much about it as women talk about their problems. It hurt hard because I am a skinny dude everywhere but the belly. I have been working out pretty consistently for the past 2 years and the results are hard to see. I don't know what op meant by steroid epidemic, but people don't usually say if they are taking steroids or not, and I see all these jacked people in the gym I go to and their progress seems to take a fraction of the time it is taking me. My partner and friends are very supportive of my working out, but I just never feel big enough. Small legs and arms, and no six-pack really gets to me, even though I know I look healthy. Social media is probably the biggest contributing factor to body dysmorphia, at least for me. If a man tells his therapist that he's experiencing body dysmorphia, hates his body, etc., then he'll be taken seriously the same way as if a woman did. The problem is that men just aren't talking to therapists or anyone else about their issues. At best they are turning inwards, engaging with bad faith bro science communities full of grifters. I'm really spitballing. I'll warn none of this is exactly backed up by numbers, but does reflect my honest opinion. I guess there's a few things. One is that *TRADITIONALLY* men haven't felt pressured to conform to body standards like women have. Now, that changed sometime in the 80s and now there's tons of action stars that are chemically enhanced. 2 is that I know steroid use is dangerous, but at least that's largely a down the line issue. If you're underweight and anorexic, you're on the clock, in terms of not dying dose. 3 is that I don't think women judge men on physique as harshly as the other way around. Though a lot of us think that way and that's why we start lifting in the first place. But I don't think we really have an equivalent body positivity movement. I don't think any body positivity movement actually underlines health. It's one extreme or validating obesity. Actual work towards functionality and a good standard of living is sort of scarce. And also, seeing Ronnie Coleman in a wheelchair at 40 sort of crushed me a bit, and so do the West Side Barbell folks who have messed up joints and multiple surgeries. But I think a lot of men like to work towards something, and be validated for that work, myself included. These folks seem not to mind being in extreme pain and working through it and taking years off their lives very much. I sort of get it. I once accidentally took half the skin off my shin playing sports, and if you made me pick between throwing alcohol on that while yelling into a towel or rug, being brave and emotionally vulnerable, I'll probably ask you to pass the towel and alcohol over, please. I agree with you, but I think you're not completely right with our body positivity. It is not only about showcasing overweight/obese models, it is also showing body unaltered, cellulite stretch marks, body hair. Showing people of all ages, real pregnant women, not fake tummy or photoshopped, short people, people with prosthetics, colostomy bags or using wheelchair. So just a whole spectrum of people, not just thin and obese models. I don't take mine seriously anymore. Opted to disappear from social settings until I'm content with how my person looks. Still working at it, one day further, one day stronger. As I have stumbled through my 20s trying to feel comfortable in my own skin, clothes are an odd sort of torture for me at this point. I truly feel remorse for my fellow man who takes the juice, but I cannot fault their decision. That would imply that I know better. I don't. The quick fix has been around for some time. I'm talking miracle tonics of the late 19th century, though it goes well beyond that. Steroids are another iteration of its insistent promises. Sorry, I've edited this 7 times now. I'll stop. It's funny because everybody I speak to daily in the gym who isn't chiseled says they just want to be a little fitter, and then here I'm not satisfied with shoulders the size of my head. I'm not going to disagree that these aren't issues, they definitely are. Men have many issues that aren't as focused on as they are with women. Mental illness, abuse, and even cancer. Men have societal expectations that are toxic also. All of these should be taken seriously. However, we as men need to change for that to happen. We can't blame women for it, and in some ways we can't even blame societal expectations. We live in a patriarchal society. I think we are shifting away from that, but slowly. I know men have a tendency to scoff when women complain about that. The irony is that patriarchal society that we as men created and fueled for centuries wasn't just toxic for women, but men. We still control most things, like media, money, and most of society. We are to blame. We could have more of these. Women have all of their support groups and causes because they spoke up. They said we aren't going to take this. They banded together for their causes. They even created change with their pockets. They got involved and banded together. We have to speak up about our fights with things like mental illness, eating disorders, and abuse. We can cry and have emotions. We can be sensitive and insecure. All of those things are okay. We have to change. We can't blame societal expectations, because in many ways, we put those on ourselves, and we continue to propagate them. We in a way created this mess, and have to fix it. I know this all sounds man-hating in a way. It's not. We have so much potential. We just need to be the change. Society would be all the better if men banded together to stop toxic masculinity. I don't know, part of me thinks we would have a better society if men realize they are part of the problem, but also part of the solution. Just my 2 cents. Out of all the comments I read here, this one makes the most sense. I see too many posts on here acting like men are treated like the scum of society, when the exact opposite is true. It's on us. Let me be honest here. I was a skinny dude, small muscles. I did bother me a lot through my teenage years, and when I went to university, but considering I was, and still am, in a long-term, happy relationship and surrounded with great people that push me forward, I could handle it well. But still, looking myself at the mirror made me sad, in a way. I was in a gym for a month, 4th year of high school, but I did not know what to do, and how to do it. So it made me think in a way, okay, I did it for a month, it does not work for me I guess. But after few years, something snapped in me, in a positive way. I just woke up, and I was suddenly ready to change. I sat down at my computer, researched everything I need to know for the gym, and started hammering it down, eating well, being more positive about myself, pushing myself, shutting down negative thoughts. Having my GF and friends supporting me also made those small pushes that meant the world to me. After a month or two, the feeling of seeing my chest that grew in size, arms, back. I swear to God, I was so happy about myself after so long that it affected my way of thinking in a positive way, even thought it was a small change at the time. I'm so happy about myself right now, and continue to work on myself every day. If you are out there, and need that something, my friend, hit the gym, at least try it for 2 months, 4 days a week. Say to yourself, listen, I'm gonna do it for 60 days, and if I don't see progress, I'm never coming back here. That was my mindset, and I gave it my all. It worked for me. Wish you all the best, kings. Stay positive, know that you are loved. The problem is, that hitting the gym only works when you are making progress. I've been going to the gym regularly for 5 years now, never missed a single session, and looking into the mirror makes me more and more depressed every day, because I simply don't make much progress. Why? Low T and problem gaining weight due to intestinal issues. Just like any other problem facing primarily men, it is not only ignored by the mainstream news, but mocked, ignored, brushed aside for womanized problems, minimized, and all sorts of other tactics to minimize attention to male problems and maximize female problems. Is it sexist? You decide. I think a lot of men's softer and insecure sides are ignored or hushed down despite the evidence telling us it should not be. Mostly by men themselves and society follows, or is it the other way around? I think it's hard to tell with these things. What came first, the stigma or the behavior? Honestly, I think we are in a phase now where we are starting to redefine what is to be a man, where we allow people to actually ask these questions about men, and let other men answer it without guilt or stigma. Kinda similar to what women have been doing for the last 100 to 150 years. Just in the last quarter of a century we have seen a lot of development with regards to men in the Western Hemisphere. I think the next 50 to 100 years are going to be interesting with regards to men's mental well-being. Personally, I think it is a far bigger problem than is realized. Half the problem may be this: men are and have been slowly over time portrayed as disposable. From a young age, as an example in modern cartoons, the males are defined as a bit dumb/stupid but of ridicule and jokes, whilst their female counterparts are switched on, and doing all the jobs, and coming up with ideas and plans. On the flip side, there is the other type of animation, where the male is always a muscular superhero fighter of some kind. How is this going to manifest in the minds of our young growing up? You're either going to be a muscular hero or a dumbass being bossed about, and it seems nothing in between. I'm of course talking extremes here, and for a portion of the population none of this is a problem. But as we roll along into the future, there will be more marriage and partnership breakups, especially now with the division that seems to be happening globally with COVID and internet platform algorithms feeding confirmation bias, and male role models in the home not being able to put opinions across, or be immediately available for advice and or comfort and strength, and to an extent protection. The problem is it has been going on in the background, unnoticed for years in Western culture. There have been a good few decades, even generations of people growing up having this fed into their brains from a young age. Maybe the result is men are going to the gym, and not necessarily for health reasons, but just to be big, or seen as having big guns, or whatever, steroids involved etc., to be seen as the superhero type. This then causes more ownership issues, as these types tend to look down upon those who are at the big gym types. This all feeds into and compounds the problems, and it runs deep into so many other areas of society too. Not every kid or adult has a balanced, unbiased, or sometimes safe upbringing. Example, I can only speak from personal experience. I have a 13-year-old son who has anxiety issues, not for any reason we can be sure of at least. He is relatively tall, not a bad-looking kid, not overweight. We have tried to keep him fit all through his life, and fed him the right food, but he is now all clunky and ungainly in the way he moves. I appreciate all kids go through this stage in development. I am not an idiot. But if you had seen it for yourself, you would see there seems to be more to it than the normal physical developmental stage. He has lost all his confidence, and all we can see is just purely out of self-consciousness. We're not sure if he has been ridiculed by someone or a group at some point, personally or trolled online, or if it is just a phase. But I've always tried to give him the foundations to be a strong, level-headed individual. We have spoken to him about this and given him time and options in the kindest way possible, but he tells us that there is no bullying or such like going on. I can only take his word, and I do believe that he would tell us if there was. Personally speaking, I think there is a lot more at play here, not only for my son, but for the young male society as a whole. There are going to be people out there reading this probably thinking, hey man up, etc. To those I say this. I consider myself a fair and just man, kind and understanding. I'm a black belt in a martial art. I and 2 others run our own club. My son was a member for a while, but chose to leave, which I don't have a problem with. I see kids, adults, boys, and girls of all ages come and go to our club on a weekly basis. The girls are generally so much more confident. Not all, but some of the boys struggle and crumble, especially under periodic examination conditions, more often than the girls. You can tell from the parents sometimes how the kids are going to be. Sometimes you can it. But there is definitely a difference generally across the dynamic. Something in the culture needs to change and give a more level starting point for all, boys and girls, background, ethnicity, and stance. I absolutely believe in equality for all, but it should not be at the expense of another group of individuals in society. The benchmark must be the same for everyone. I also appreciate there is no right or wrong answers here, but there does need to be some discussion and debate before it is too late. An old classmate of mine wrote a comment on social media making fun of male actor for opening up about his body issues. I replied that body image issues are serious, and was met with a response of world's smallest violin / how do you think most women feel? Not really helpful to shut down a discussion like that. Men generally give less of a. You ever see your dad working outside in nothing but a singlet or granddads who mow lawns shirtless etc etc? That's not to say men don't struggle, but when there are dad bod competitions around the world for men to laugh about how out of shape they are, you can see why perceptions are different. I feel like men can get away with anything that isn't extremely skinny or fat, but women seem to be pushed towards one ideal body type. This is all curious speculation, but I think that is part of it. I always thought it was the other way around. Any woman within the triangle of thick, some rolls but not morbidly obese, fit, visible musculature, and thin, visible ribs but not emaciated, has an attractive body in my mind, while a man who is not on the fit end of the scale, which does not include me, is instantly less attractive to me. It is probably the opposite in a woman's head though. And man, absolutely hate how I look. Also hate exercising. I also hate the idea of me being muscular and don't want to be shredded like the entirety of society says I should. So I often feel stuck, like there's no point to exercising because it sucks. And I don't get anything I actually want out of it. Vast majority of dudes want to get shredded without steroids or hardcore, dedicated training with a highly specific diet. I agree with you, I don't want to be shredded, but maybe lean and low body fat would be cool. What types of exercise have you tried? If you hate running, try cycling. If you hate lifting, try rowing or body weight exercises. The only bursto form of exercise is the one that you will actually do, and at least somewhat enjoy. You should also absolutely dial in your diet, if you hate exercising. Good luck, my man. I hope you find happiness with yourself. Most of the reason I work out is because I don't feel like I don't look good enough. I have struggled with it throughout my teens, but I don't let it become a physical thing, it just stays in my head. Same I feel about every other thing. Our society has a willful disinterest in men's well-being. I'm noticing more and more young, 18 to 21, guys coming to the gym absolutely ripped and jacked up. It was definitely easier when I was younger to lose weight and put on muscle, but these guys must be juicing. There is simply no way it is achieved naturally. It's worrying both from their perspective, but also for their peers who see this as an achievable norm. Modern tools can transform bodies impressively fast. Give a 16Y/0 guy a properly tailored diet, workout schedule and nutrients, and 6 months later it will look like they are on something. I think a lot of it has to do with how little the general public knows about steroid use. I have known tons of people that had slightly above average natural physiques that cruise control low-dose test. While their physiques were absolutely obtainable naturally, they were not obtainable with their lifestyles. The average person sees their physiques and assumes that with enough work they can eat whatever they want and drink 3 days a week and look like them. I don't think people realize how many people are on steroids because they associated with huge bodybuilders. There is also the fact that, because PR's favorite actor/strength athlete does not admit to steroid use, they assume their physique is hard work and dedication. There are literally people on Eddie Haller's YouTube comments claiming that he is natural. I don't think male body dysmorphia is taken seriously, because there is a large percentage of the population that just is not aware of it. Mental health issues for men are simply not taken seriously by anyone, hardly ever. Sometimes there is the media not taking it seriously, but there is awareness when you talk to people when it comes to certain topics, but not men's mental health. It shows weakness and is hardly ever met with understanding. I agree that steroid abuse and these extreme bodybuilder guys who need sleep apnea machines because they cannot breathe right after gaining all this weight have severe issues with how they look. I have reached a point where I don't care what a woman thinks of my appearance. People say I am too skinny or something. It is like I am sorry I don't reach your ideals, but I am not trying to impress anyone, so please be quiet. I'm 43 and I hang around on this sub, and honestly it breaks my heart how many young men in here feel they're worthless because of body image issues. Guys who believe they're too short because they're not 6 feet. Guys who feel insecure about their penis size because they don't look like porn stars. Guys who think they need to gain 20 pounds of muscle every year. I hate to see that, really. So much guilt in these posts, like you're a failure for being 5'8" or not exercising twice a day. Come on. I don't think it was like that when I was 20. Maybe because there were no influencers and Instagram and everything. It's heartbreaking what our society does to young people, boys and girls alike. Guilting people for things they have no control on. I think we should probably cut it out with all the small jokes. Steroid abuse and law enforcement should be a more serious topic. Roid rage is real. The people who don't care have no obligation to care. Family should, but I know far too many cases where they just don't, and the kids end up with ed up in their heads. I think that if we don't care, nobody else will. I've been tempted by roids GBH. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck.